Welcome back to the First Team. I'm Joe DeLeone, and with me is my good friend and co-host, NFL draft analyst Ryan Roberts. We're giving our first summer scouting position ranking defensive tackles. There's a lot of big names that we've highlighted so far in the lead up to our position rankings. Deion Walker, Mason Graham. There's a lot of big bodies that are going to be able to do some amazing things in the NFL, and we're going to reveal who the best are in the country heading into the 2024 college football season. Really quickly, Ryan, I just want to talk about here this class. Last year's class I thought was pretty good. I thought it was strong. I thought that there were a lot of really good day two options. I think what separates this year's class from last year's class, there's a really good chunk of premier players at the top that really are going to push this position group to the top as one of the best in the class. There's a lot of really good dudes that are going to be potentially highly impactful starters in the NFL.
I love this class, man. I feel like first and foremost, we should have started, I'm just blessed to be here with the world famous Joe DeLeone. I mean, ESPN, Yahoo Sports, no matter where we go, man. When I turn on,
I'm done talking about it. I'm done talking about it. I've talked about it on every show that I do. I've done too many guest spots about this. I am done talking about it.
I saw it on Yahoo too, man. I saw your face pop up with Dan Wetzel and those cats. I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool.
Well, it's a show I produce, and they brought it up, so it's like.
Well, I saw on ESPN Instagram. What do you think is going through your dad's mind right now? Do you think he's proud? What are his?
I don't think he has any idea that this happened, and I kind of want to keep it that way. Oh, he hasn't acknowledged it at all, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I think it's funny that he has no idea that I did this.
I'm just trying to think of like your dad just randomly scrolling on the internet, and then all of a sudden he sees
he's not on social media
but all he sees is you with a hash brown in your mouth with the paper still on it.
I think that happened with a lot of people I was in college with. A lot of guys I played football with commented and then also DM'd me. Like, dude, what the hell is this? So that literally has happened already. But my dad, I don't think he's going to find out because he's not on social media.
Weird segue here. I'm sorry. I just need to mention something before we talk about this fantastic defensive tackle class. I mean, honestly, kind of getting back on track here, Joe, to your intro about this class. This is both a top-heavy group, in my opinion, but also depth in this class. I mean, in the preseason, I have 21 graded interior defensive linemen. 19 out of 21 have draftable grades and in high-end draftable grades as well. So when I look at this class, you have a whole lot of different body types. I mean, we're going to be talking about some kids that are true noses. We're going to be talking about the undersized three techniques. We're going to be talking about guys that can play between a 3-man and a 4-man front because of the length components that they have as well. And there's a couple kids that I graded pretty high that I would still call very raw football players. Like, they are not close to where their ceiling is. And I'll talk about a couple of those kids in this top 10 that I think with a year of full-time playing time and maturation, development from a technical and physical perspective could be massive risers in this class as well. So yeah, this is one of, I'm just kind of scrolling through my notes here on a couple of these classes. Like, this might be the best class next year outside of maybe running back. I mean, running back, interior defensive lineman, I think next year is pretty dang good. So's edge. I'll just throw defensive line into a hole. Like, this interior defensive line class is very, very good though.
And I think too with this defensive tackle class, it makes a lot of sense that it's as good as it is because it would have been the 2022 recruiting cycle that we're really getting a lot of these guys from their
first year eligible guys you're talking about, right?
Yes, for the first year eligible guys. Yes. A number of the premier players in this class were highly recruited kids. But this is also what makes this class interesting is that there are a lot of raw football players that were 5 stars, high 4 stars that maybe haven't really come to fruition yet. And there also are some guys that we're probably not even going to mention that were completely overvalued by others throughout this process because they didn't really watch the film and they just went with the recruiting ranking. We don't do that on this show, but my number 10, as we always do, we alternate back and forth from 10 through 1. We share our 10 through 6s to start off. My 10 through 6. I've got Bear Alexander from USC. Number 9 is Shamar Turner from Texas A&M. Okay. Number 8 is Jaheim Otis from Alabama. Number 7 is Dante Corleone from Cincinnati. And then number 6 is a guy that I have really propped up throughout this process, and I spotted last year during just in-season scouting. James Thompson Jr. from Wisconsin is my number 6.
Wow. Okay, so first note on your top, your 10 through 6.
Yeah, I know we're going to be really all over.
We're very different. We're very different with one player specifically, and I'm going to ask you about that player in a second. So first note, I haven't watched He Notice, which is kind of funny. So I've graded 21 players.
I recommend you watching him. I was very pleasantly surprised. He rotated in a ton, not a lot of production, but dude, he is huge and he can bend and he can move. I'm wondering if he gets a little bit more exposure and experience and is the leading defensive tackle on that team, what his production's going to do. I really think he could be this dude that just takes a huge step forward.
He's one of the couple players from, because Alabama has Tim Smith as well. That's another draft eligible guy that had a decent spring grade. So I'm interested to take a look at both those kids. I haven't seen any of them at this point. One guy I want to ask you about, Joe, because I'll be very honest, I'm much higher on Dante Corleone than you, it seems like. Is there a reservation? 7. Is there a reservation on him? Is there something that you don't
thought that
love?
Was very high. What? I thought that was, this is a very good D tackle class. Okay. So you must have him at 4 or something like that. I really like Dante Corleone, and I tweeted out some clips of him, and the Cincinnati fan base loved the love I was giving to him a couple of weeks ago. I really like him, man. He is low to the ground. He is disruptive. I didn't necessarily find anything that I hated. I just thought that some of these other guys had a little bit more length, a little bit more juice. That was the only thing for me was the lack of length, because he's not a particularly long fellow at 6'1", and he's probably do we have an official height weight on him?
We don't have a height weight. He's only he is a third-year player. So with the spring grades, they're very selective with what juniors and redshirt sophomores they measure. So nothing on it. Well, actually, wait.
No, he's not a third-year player because he could have declared last year.
Yeah, you're right. Here, give me 1 second then. I think actually I might have
the other quick qualm that I had. I wanted to just double check my notes here. The other quick qualm that I had with him too. For a smaller defensive tackle or shorter defensive tackle, I thought he played a little high at times, which is an oxymoron. It feels like when you've got guys that are this compact, you would hope that they play through guys' waists. Instead, he was kind of coming up the guy's chests, which I didn't like. But again, very good player. He's somebody that I had a very high grade. I had a 7.0 on our scale, which is comparable to a mid-second round pick. I would have taken him pretty early.
Okay. All right. So just a little bit more bullish on him is kind of the whole thing. So we'll talk about him a little deeper because breaking news, he's in my top 5 since I'm talking in this vein.
All right, who's your 10 through 6 if you can find your
number 10? Yeah, we don't have a spring measurement on him. I don't think he was measured because I think technically he's a redshirt junior because he redshirted his first year. So it's not a guarantee that he'll be in this class, but I think it is a guarantee that he'll be in this class. Number 10, Jay Toya, UCLA. 6'2", 6'2" and some change, 338 pounds. Massive nose tackle. Massive. Number 9, Joe, one of my coolest finds was DeAndre Jules, Pittsburgh, who's now at South Carolina. He comes in at number 9 for me. Number 8, Damonte Capehart, defensive lineman from Clemson. Then I had number 7. Yes, number 7, Shamar Turner from Texas A&M that you talked about a little bit, kind of a hybrid edge interior player, moves all over the place for Texas A&M. Number 6, I had Kenneth Grant from Michigan, the massive nose tackle.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. You know what I'm now realizing?
Yes. You forgot to put someone on.
I watched Damonte Capehart. I have notes on Damonte Capehart. I did not put Damonte Capehart into my ranking. I'm not going to go back and try to retroactively place him in here. I think maybe when I release the show and I drop my rankings on Twitter, I will work him in. I think I'd probably would slot him at number 10 or at number 9 ahead of Turner or ahead of Bear Alexander. Because let's talk about him before we jump into the top 5 rankings. He is a really interesting evaluation because the preseason scouting grades from the NFL really liked him.
First round grade from Blesto, dude. First round grade.
6'5", 320 pounds. And I get it. He is a truck going downhill when he comes off the ball. Yeah. But he's barely on the field. I had to watch like a lot of games just to get a sample size comparable to what I watch for all of these other guys that I typically do when I do my notes. I just don't know why Clemson doesn't put him on the field more. That's what it just doesn't register with me.
It's been a crowded room, though. I mean, there's been guys. I mean, think of Joe.
But he's higher graded than Roro and Tyler Davis were last year coming into the season.
Right. But I mean, Rook ended up being a high second round pick, right? Like, what was he, number 33 overall, 34 overall? Like, shut up your mouth. Dude. I love Rook, dude. I love Rook Roro. Look, you had Tyler Davis, who was a 6 year. Was he 6 year last year? Tyler Davis? He had to be 6 year, right?
He played a lot of ball.
Dude, he had been a good player for Clemson. Again, not a great NFL draft prospect, but a college player. Tyler Davis had been a very good player for a long time. You talk about Rook. The year before that, Joe, you also had Brian Bresee in that room, right? So it's not like there's been nobody in that room. Like, there's been some dudes, some NFL players in that room. Damonte Capehart, though, 6'4" and 3/8, 320 pounds. This kid is explosive and powerful as all heck. When he gets a full head of steam, dude, which he does at times, you can't move him. Like, you literally can't move him. He creates some incredible movement at the point of attack. Now, the problem with Damonte Capehart is that I can look at Capehart and isolate just the traits, which is why he ended up getting a late third-round grade for me. He got a late third-round grade just based upon the fact that he is such a physically gifted football player. But let's be honest, he has zero idea what he's doing. Zero idea. This is a kid that you put in.
He's just running through kids' chests, which I kind of like.
This is a kid that you're going to put in a tilted nose and just tell him to beat the you-know-what out of centers all day. Like, just beat the you-know-what out of centers, cause some penetration, and let everybody else mop up and make the plays behind you. This is not a nuanced football player right now, but he is big. He is long, he is powerful, and he's explosive. That's a great combination, man. I just hope that his awareness and just technical prowess takes a step forward this year, because all the tools are there, but he is a massive wild card in this class right now, to say the least.
I think another wild card, who is my number 5 on my list as we alternate here to move on to the show, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. I know that you weren't super excited about him. He is going to be a player that has a huge range of opinions. Very high ceiling, but very, very low floor, because he is not anywhere near, I think, what he can actually become. 6'4", 290, very explosive, very, very bendy. I think where he shines and why I'm banking on him to eventually succeed. I don't have a crazy grade on him, by the way. I've got a late second on him. He's got the same exact grade that I have on Corleone and James Thompson Jr. I gave them late seconds, all 3 of those guys. I just see that he could eventually become a productive interior pass rusher, because he has the bend, he's got the burst, he fires off the ball very quickly. But where we have to acknowledge where a lot of work needs to be done is for a defensive tackle. He doesn't do a very good job anchoring against the run. He just does not do a good job of maintaining his balance, taking on double teams, locating the football. He can be good at it. I just don't think he knows and has the effort necessary to be as good as he could be. Because this is summer scouting, I'm doing the same thing I did with Leonard Taylor last year, that I was a little too excited. I'm not as excited as Leonard Taylor last year, but I'm acknowledging the talent, but throwing up a flag to say that there is a little bit of caution here, and we need to just be wary that this might not necessarily work out.
You know what's funny, Joe, and I actually didn't tell you this one. When I posted about my concern about Walter Nolan on Twitter, I actually had a college coach who does not coach Walter Nolan reach out to me and say, yeah, not surprised about your opinion on Walter Nolan. It's actually his exact personality when we were recruiting him as well out of high school. So look, man, the kid's body beautiful. The kid can move. The kid is incredibly explosive. but I am going to call him Tyler Booker's son until he proves me otherwise at this point. I just am not there with Walter Nolan. I get it. I understand it. I just have deep reservations around that kid on the field. So we'll see.
All right, who's your number 5?
Number 5, Howard Cross, the third out of Notre Dame. He is 6'1" and 1/8", 288 pounds. He's your undersized 3 technique on the next level who actually plays a lot of nose for Notre Dame. They ask him to do a lot of the dirty work, which I actually think hurts his production a little bit, Joe. Like, he has to do a lot of stuff, anchoring against double teams, trying to split and work in penetration style from a 0 to 1. And I think that, honestly, I would hope, and it's a little bit funky because Notre Dame has Riley Mills, who's also a pretty good player next to him and an NFL draft prospect. I wish and I hope that they utilize Cross and a little bit more of 3 technique this year to utilize that explosive and quickness, because he was very productive last year, without a doubt. I mean, he was an All-American by several platforms last year. I gave him an early 3rd round grade, okay? Early 3rd round grade. I think that he could be a guy that could rise into a little bit of a higher of a day 2 player. But I think that there are some size restrictions to him, right? Like, he's probably maxed out at about 288 pounds. He's going to be a guy that has to create penetration and has to be that style of player. But man, his hands are powerful. He's really quick. He's flexible. Like, his game against Duke is one of the most insane games that you will see of any prospect this cycle. The flashes are tremendous. The work is tremendous. He plays with an incredible motor. This is a player that I think right now is somewhere mid to late day 2 player that I think could rise in this class, because if he has another year like he did last year, man, he is going to make a lot of people notice. And he reminds me of the kid that is going to go to the Senior Bowl. He's just going to be unblockable all week because they're finally going to put him. That's the thing that I think we underestimated about Howard Cross, though, as being a Notre Dame fans, especially when you watch him. He is not put in the position that he should be put in all the time, but he makes plays constantly because that motor and that quickness is very, very good. And he's the son of a former NFL tight end, also Howard Cross Sr., who played for the New York Giants, which is why he actually grew up in Jersey.
He's my number 3. I really liked Howard Cross. You hit the nail on the head with the motor. Very, very high energy, reckless abandonment type of a rusher who just goes a million miles per hour, throws his body all over the place, just trying to make plays. I think that for me, why I'm very bullish on him is I see a lot of upside for him as a pass rusher. I think that as he continues to develop some move sets, which he's already got some pretty good active hands, he can be maybe like an 8 or more sack guy in the NFL if things come to fruition. The foot quickness, the foot speed, the shiftiness, all of that stuff is what I love. And then one of the things that for some reason I have this affinity for, I just seem to really like these defensive tackles that are low to the ground, that are quick, that punch you underneath your chest and play super, super low. Jer'Jon Newton's exactly the type of guy that I'm talking about who did that last year for Illinois. And Howard Cross has a similar-ish play style where underneath you, it's hard to get underneath him. You can't really drive him off the ball because he's so low to the ground. Yeah. Despite being shorter, he still knows how to use that to his advantage. Low man wins is why Howard Cross is my number 3. My number 4, Ryan, was Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. So Tyleik Williams, massive dude. He got bigger. Since last summer when we talked very highly of him.
325 pounds this spring and a little over 6'2". So yes, he's a thick boy.
Big boy. I don't know if he lost a little bit of flexibility. I think he lost maybe just like a little bit because he put on some of that extra weight as we're talking about. If we're discussing an immovable force against double teams and in the run game, that's exactly what Tyleik Williams is. I don't totally know if he's ever going to be like a productive sack getter, but this is someone who is going to take a lot of power just to hold back in any circumstance, against the run, against the pass, just a hauling mass that is so freaking strong. I'm a big fan of Tyleik Williams.
It's an easy transition. He's also my number 4 player. I have a mid-second round grade on Tyleik Williams. Again, 6'2" plus, hair over, 325 pounds. This is a dense, immovable object. There's no doubt about that. But the one thing that I love about him, which is why he has had some tackle for loss production, and he's been a patrol man in the run game in that department, is his first step is good, man. Like, he gets off the line fast. And his straight line, he is a hard dude to stop. I think that's why you see on like the backside of zone runs when he's playing a little bit of pursuit, he's able to easily win that gap and be able to play in pursuit and make some plays in that regard. And man, his hands are strong. Like they're fierce at the point of attack. His game against Notre Dame this year was stellar, dude. It was stellar. I mean, because Notre Dame's offensive line actually played pretty well against Ohio State, but there were a few plays where they're trying to run some like inside zone or some duo, and they're just working double teams against him, and he's able to hold the point and then split that double team and create plays in the backfield and be able to really assert himself in the running game. So Tyleik Williams, I think, especially now, because after they lost Michael Hall in this past draft that went in the second round, Tyleik Williams was already the dude on that interior last year, but now it's going to be even more highlighted. Like he is the guy coming back. Watch out for number 91 for Ohio State because he is going to be a good one. So also number 4 for me, Tyleik Williams.
I already gave my number 3, which was Howard Cross. Who do you have at number 3?
Deion Walker, number 3 for me from Kentucky. Yes.
Oh, what?
Yes. Joe, just paint the picture there, sir. Paint the picture. Deion Walker, 6'6", 348 listing. No chance he's actually 348 pounds. We talked about that in the show already. This kid is about as gifted of an athlete at that size as you are ever going to see. His athleticism is rare at that size. Pad level stinks. Hand technique is very up and down. The technical side is something that he can really improve upon and needs to improve upon, but the flashes are the best in this class. I mean, if Deion Walker becomes the best version of himself in 2024, then he has a conversation as DT1. DT3 for me right now with a very high second round grade because I think that there are technical refinement that needs to happen. I do think he needs to play with better pad level and get a little bit more flexible. I hope his weight's down a little bit. I don't need him to lose 30 pounds. I need him to be 6'6", 340 this year, a legit 340. Still a massive human being, still has those rare movement skills, but I just think the pad level and the technical refinement are things that I need to see movement forward because I just think that he's going to get gassed at his size, to be honest. I think he's going to get gassed a little bit. I think there's going to be... What?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I didn't think he really showed to me that he was a guy who was getting gassed when he was at Kentucky that much.
What's pad level though, Joe? You play higher with the less durability or the less.
Yeah, but he does that throughout the game. I think he's just a big kid who doesn't. And wasn't he formerly an offensive tackle, or am I mixing him up with somebody else?
I mean, he probably played offensive tackle in high school. They all do, right?
Okay, I'm thinking
he's a former
else.
high regarded recruit that we talked about during the show. I would say this, man, is that him playing as high as he does and just being able to run around dudes and use that flexibility he has at 6'6", 348, that's great in the college game. But I'm here to tell you, man, the NFL, it's not always going to fly, dude. Hands need to be better. Pad level needs to be more consistent. I think that he is going to be an excellent prospect. Like, again, high second round grade. I think he has a chance to be a very high level first round player when all is said and done. But those technical things, when we're transitioning to the next level, those things matter. An inch matters. A better pad level consistently on a snap basis, that stuff is going to matter, dude. I'm just telling you that transition is not going to be as easy as we think. Yes, rare athletes, but that rare athlete needs to match the technical side of things. I just think the technical side and the rare athleticism, they're a little bit far apart right now. He's making plays right now because he is just God gifted. Everything that he does is easy. I need him to do the little things in 2024.
He is DT1, and he's one of my highest rated guys in this class. Dude, I understand what you're saying. Yes, the pad level's not great, and I think that there's a couple things that need to be improved and refined, and I also would like to get him in a little bit better shape. But, I mean, you don't build guys like this. This is an aberration. This is not something that you can find in a prospect at any position. For how big he is and for how easily he can move, how light-footed he is, how quick he is, how easily he's able to create separation for himself, how effectively and aggressively he's able to close down. I get the concerns.
Yep.
But I'm banking on all of these rare, extremely rare traits that they're going to pan out. I know that there's other really good prospects.
You know who else had rare traits, Joe? You know who else had rare traits? Jordan Davis, dude. You know who else had rare traits? Jordan Davis had rare traits.
He's better than Jordan Davis was, though, coming into his last season of college football. I really think that Deion Walker is going to be a really, really... what's the word I'm looking for here? I think he's just such a unique
blue
prospect.
Chip? We're calling him blue chip?
I don't. blue chip feels, he's not, I didn't give him a blue chip grade. I didn't give him a blue chip grade on my scale, but this is not something you can find as a defensive tackle. And I understand the concerns of when you watch Jordan Davis not necessarily pan out as much as
that wasn't a direct comparison. I'm just saying it's not always easily translatable. Just because you have rare athleticism doesn't always mean that you are a rare football player.
I don't care.
Like, there's a differentiation there.
I will do it every so often, and I'm going to sit here and do that with Deion Walker. Guys as big as him are not supposed to be able to move the way that he can. And I think that there is a world where he hits, and he's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, like top 4 defensive tackle in the NFL.
I agree that it's possible, right? Which is why I said that there is a reality where this kid takes a massive step forward and he's a top 10 player in this class. Like, it is very possible. I am not riddening my head of that. I just think that there are a few things that I need to be answered in 2024 as far as the pad level and the consistency. If he does that, then I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I guess I'm just a little bit more treading lightly on the fact that there is still a lot of technical growth that needs to happen here, but still a high second round player for me. He is, if I can pull this up real quick, because it won't take me long. So Joe, despite my reservations with him, he is still, as far as the players that I have graded so far, let me pull him up real quick. I thought I had it already, but I do not. Oh my gosh, this is called bad podcasting right now, man. Yep. This is really bad podcasting. I got it right here though. Don't worry. Don't worry your little head, Joe. So of 100 players that I have graded so far, if it ended today, Deion Walker would end up being a top 20 player in this class, top 20 player in this class. So all that reservation is still me saying that he would go in the first round based upon where my ranking is today of him, right? There's some things I want to see. I think that this is the classic conversation of ceiling versus floor. And I went for the floor at number 2. I think Dante Corleone is really, really good, dude. High second round grade for me. Again, not a true first round grade, but I have a 7.9 on the 9.0 scale, which is as high of a second round grade as you can get without having a first round. Dude, I love Dante Corleone, dude. Yes, he is a squattier built interior defensive lineman, but he is 315 plus pounds. He has an incredible first step. I think that he has a lot more flexibility than you're giving him credit for, and I think that he has incredible power. There are some plays that he makes. I didn't say he
wasn't flexible. I didn't say he wasn't. He's not very long.
Yeah, he's not long.
There's a limitation to a lack of length.
Weren't you the guy that was screaming for Kalijah Cansey 2 years ago? And he was one of the shortest arms.
So much different way. He is not going to test anywhere near the same way that Kalijah Cansey
That's
did.
Fine. I don't care about testing. This kid is a dang good football player who's going to be a plus starter in the NFL. It's a guarantee. Plays nose for Cincinnati. I actually think that's a misuse. I think that this first step and this explosiveness could be a lot more productive as far as the tackle for loss perspective, but he is just consistent penetration, man. Yep, I'm all in on Dante Corleone. Maybe I end up being wrong. High second round player in this class for me, Dante Corleone, Cincinnati.
I think he's a good football player, but man, I don't number ahead of a guy with ridiculous athletic traits.
He's a better player than Deion Walker right now. What do you want me to say about it? He's a better player than Deion Walker.
I don't know if there's like that much of a separation in the way that they were playing and the impact that they were having on a snap-to-snap basis. We also have to take into account that Deion Walker is going against SEC offensive linemen every single snap. I think that. Yeah. All right.
I hear you, dude. I hear you. SEC. Got it.
Number 2 on mine and number 1 on yours.
There's never been a good player that's come out of anything other than the SEC, right? There's never been a single player that's come out of those spots. But
I'm just saying that the context is necessary in understanding
the greatest defensive tackle of all time, potentially Aaron Donald, came out of the ACC, right?
Yeah, so, Dante the Big 12 is whatever. We're not doing this. Mason Graham is presumably your number 1, my number 2. Mason Graham is a nice bundle of everything that you look for in a defensive tackle. He is probably going to be somebody that goes early in the first round. He had a very close, similar grade to Deion Walker. I had a mid first on him. Okay. Another player who's low to the ground, very immovable on double teams against the run, anchors extremely well. And I think the one thing that separates him from a guy like Tyreek Williams is you do see the pass rush upside. You do see the bend. You see the ability to use his hands to separate from blockers, to locate the football, to generate pressures. This is somebody who from front to back, snap to snap, doesn't need to come off the field, has the stamina, has the motor, does everything that you look for checks every single box. I just think that this is a no-brainer. One of the few guys in this class that just feels like so easy of a projection.
Top 10 player in this class currently for me, Mason Graham, also a mid first round grade. This kid is dense, 6'3", about 315, 320 pounds. Can't move him at the point of attack. Hands are incredibly strong, plays with great leverage consistently, can split gaps. He does everything you need for an interior defensive lineman on the next level. I think he could play everything from a 0 all the way out to about a 4-4-I in a odd man front. I think that he can do all those different duties that you need from him on the next level. The wrestling background, which we talked about him coming out of Servite in the state of California, was a very prominent heavyweight wrestler coming out of high school as well. And I think that leverage and that ability to hand fight and the quick feet all translate to next level. I think that this kid has Pro Bowl upside on the next level. I think he could be that type of player. I am all in on Mason Graham out of Michigan, which pains me to say as a Notre Dame fan, but that kid is excellent.
Yeah, one of the few guys you put on the film, and he is the first, even when you're not watching him, he's the first thing that you notice because he is so freaking disruptive. Folks, let us know in the comments below what you think of our rankings. At Joe DeLeone, at Rising Draft. Hit the like button, subscribe button, 5-star review if you're tuning in on audio. We'll be back with more summer scouting as we get ready for the 2024 college season and the 2025 NFL Draft. We'll talk to you later.